I read in like the notes that we were given before was the fact that I didn't know that you guys were caught by the cops. Why don't you guys tell us about that?
Funny.
We're talking about the SWAT scene?
Yeah, the SWAT scene.
Yes.
Well, yeah, a lesson.
Was that one of the mistakes you made? You forgot to tell anybody?
Well, we actually had hired a real cop. You can hire. I'm sure you can do this in any city where you go and you hire off-duty cops for $75 an hour, whatever it is they charge. But we neglected, we're not blaming anybody, but between our whole production crew at that point, nobody ended up telling the local police. And unfortunately, up the street was a old age home, literally about, I'd say about 50 feet away, Nathan?
Yeah, and our the guys who were playing all the SWAT team were all basically friends of ours, so no one was really trained on SWAT procedures. So there was a lot of gun waving and screaming and pointing guns at each other while they're having a smoke, and little old ladies walking up the street and sirens going off and people swearing and
the lady diving into the bushes. So yeah, the real cops did. Basically, what saved us, I have to say, there was the fact that we had hired our cop to be there, and he basically talked them out of shutting us down.
He was an ETF guy.
And firing.
Yeah, he totally talked the guys down, and they let us keep shooting. I think they respected that we had a couple of cops there, and we were just young guys doing our thing. I think they gave us a break.
Yeah, I mean, I think what saved us is, they wanted to make sure that they weren't real guns. Those were all, prop guns. That was one of our semi-expensive days where we actually had to go to the prop shops and, get all that stuff outfitted for all those guys. And we did actually have a rehearsal for that because we were throwing stuff down. It's just, we didn't have enough money to basically cordon off the street or anything like that. And we were stupid. What can I say?
It was a friend of mine's restaurant who let us shoot in front too, and he went out of business about 6 months later.
No.
I can't help but think that I had something to do with that.
Oh, God, I hope not. But yeah, if you're doing anything on the street with in downtown, always hire your ETF. Hire your
spend the money on the cop.
Spend your money on the off-duty cop. It'll end up saving you in more ways than one, for sure.
Well, I thought that was a great story. So you said you made a couple mistakes, and it's great because we were talking in break too. We were talking about how we know the director and the star of Mental Scars, and
right.
And it's always neat to hear the stories on how you guys produce this and learn. I mean, because there's a lot of people that want to produce movies or do movies, and it's always neat to hear from the guys that really are succeeding big like you guys, and really making it, and give them some tips and stuff like that. So if you could share a couple of things that you guys really thought maybe we shouldn't have done this or would be kind of cool.
Well, I'll tell you one thing is I always sit down. Because we get a lot of people coming and saying, okay, I'm looking to make this movie, and here's what I want to do. And I always sit down with them and the investor first and say, what do they actually want to do? Do they want to make just any movie? Do they want to make this story, or do they want to make money? Because if all they want to do is make money, I tell them they should invest in porno.
Right.
Because it'll just be a more sound investment. You really have to do this for the love of the game.
And that was a situation with us, even with Long Pigs. I mean, we raised the money, and our investor told us basically, I know the odds of getting my money back are slim, and I just want you guys to do well. And I think that's very lucky.
Yeah, they never once in 8 years really gave us a hard time about anything. And spent the money sort of saying, I like the script. I hope it does well. He owned the coffee shop a couple doors down and was basically friends with Nathan. And we didn't really take him seriously because we were trying to we had a bunch of these other big fish on the line. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it turned out the guy who basically just really responded to the script, liked it, and gave us no pressure. I mean, that's the other thing, too. You can't really be on a timeline. Don't think you're going to be done in 6 months. You know what I mean? Especially if you can't, you either have to have a lot of money or a lot of time in order to make something good. And if you don't have either of them, then you're setting yourself up for failure. You know what I mean? In this sort of environment, how many times did we reshoot things, Nathan?
Millions.
Yeah.
You have to will it to happen. I think it's easy to start something, too, and not finish it, and it's easy to get discouraged. I mean, even like big filmmakers, and Coppola was famous for that. He just willed things to happen. He mortgaged his house.
Mm-hmm.
He did everything he could. He surrounded himself with the best technicians and actors in the world, and just willed things to happen.
The original independent auteur.
I think that's, obviously I'm not comparing myself to him, but I think we willed this movie to happen in the same kind of way.
Yeah, and we made mistakes. I mean, again, we spent a huge amount of our budget on an ending that started off with basically local news, reporting this whole thing as if it were serious, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And basically through a montage, it ended up kind of on an Entertainment Tonight set, and it went through international news and
cooking shows and
getting mentions on popular, kind of channel flipping idea, where we went to real studios and, we said, okay, they know we have this, this, and this. Let's shoot around it. We spent all this money getting all these guys in there and
studio and dollies and jigs and makeup. And one thing we learned, and we always heard this too, it's almost impossible to do fake news. Even if you have a $100 billion movie, James Cameron tries to do a fake news segment and it looks fake.
Yeah, unless you're Paul Verhoeven. Yeah, he
does that.
Pull it off. But yeah, talk about disheartening. You know what I mean? We ended up with the movie and we put all this work into it, and we were like, here, showing it to everybody. And for just every different reason you can think of, for a variety of reasons, they all hated the ending. And we were stuck because without that, we didn't have an ending. I mean, you mentioned the radio host. He actually wasn't in the original script. That was,
okay.
After sitting around editing this movie and saying, okay, now we don't have him, or we don't have an ending, and now we have to sort of string this together and figure out what we're going to do, basically, how we're going to, we wanted to get rid of certain threads. Originally we had interviews with his family and all this stuff that went on and on and on. We just had to make everything a lot shorter. So, we took a cue from Abel Ferreira in The Bad Lieutenant, and the way he used the great radio performance there to put everything together.
Yeah, see, I thought it tied well. I thought that was main part of the script. So it's kind of weird to hear that it wasn't, because I thought it just tied the whole movie together. It kept it flowing.
It's weird. We did have a lot of radio stuff that was supposed to be actually on the radio when we were driving around with Anthony.
Right.
So initially that was in the script, but not in the same presence that we had. And I think where he really came up to the plate, we actually have the unedited version of this on the DVD because it went on for, I think, 12 or 13 minutes uninterrupted, was when he confronts Anthony.
Yeah.
At the end, because the filmmakers, us, never really say to this guy, hey, what the hell is your problem? You know what I mean? What are you doing? How can you do this? And I think he kind of fulfilled a need for the audience to see Anthony confronted and see him stammer around these questions, much like I'm doing right now.
No worse than Zeta stammers.
Ah, got your back. Got your back. Got your back.
Yeah.
But he was the best. His name's Roger King. I just talked to him today, and he was just amazing. And yeah, I'm going to use that device again. I like the radio guy, so we'll talk, Scotty.
Okay, great. Thank you. Listen.
Well, long pigs too.
Electric Boogaloo. Huh?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
What are your favorite horror movies? For both of you.
Nathan?
I always go back to a thing that really scared the hell out of me when I was a kid was The Changeling. That's a movie I always come back to. George C. Scott.
Yep.
That wet ball bouncing down the stairs mortified me. I also liked a lot of the really gory kind of Italian cannibal movies and things like that. I really liked Zombie a lot.
Fulci.
Well, I love Fulci. He's so demented and weird, and his effects are always great. So those are probably my two favorites.
I'd have to go with the movies that really messed me up as a kid were Poltergeist for some reason, because I did live that life, and it was so like I had a tree outside, the younger sister, the whole thing.
Wow.
That scared the hell out of me. I was fascinated by The Thing and Freddy Krueger.
Yep.
The Thing, the original Thing, I would draw pictures of that endlessly. I can only imagine what my mom was thinking when she came in and saw endless, like Freddy Krueger and The Thing, the dog monster in various mutated forms and pieces of people all over the place. But anyways,
but I eat long pigs, so I was normal.
Yeah.